Good evening, folks. Hope everyone is doing well. I'm going to share my screen. Okay. So, thank you for that introduction. Um, my name is Jerrold Nash, and I am currently the Fatherhood Coordinator with Bright Beginnings. Um, that is me there. Currently, my role is to support the inclusion of fathers in our Bright Beginnings programming. That includes the Triple P program, that includes the Parents as Teachers program, and that includes, of course, fatherhood resources, of which I am the coordinator. Making sure that fathers are included primarily in intake, but also are included in the services and made to feel as though they're included and have a voice and are being heard. Well, before we move on, a little bit about my background. I've been working in human services for probably 25 years off and on. I've worked everything from Head Start programs, where of course the ages are 0 to 5. I've worked with adolescent programs, including boys and girls clubs. I've coached basketball and baseball at multiple levels. I've worked with couples in terms of um, determining communication styles and parenting, sharing parenting tips. I've worked with the reentry population. I've worked with adults with developmental disabilities or developmental delays. Um, so ultimately, uh, human service has been my entire career. And I saved the fatherhood kind of story, kind of story for the end, in that I began with fatherhood as a participant um, more so than a practitioner. I attended a course for parents at one point early in my career, and I was captured by an engaging um, practitioner, but he was more than that. He became my mentor, and uh, it was the first time I think since I had been a parent that I was actually heard, and that was huge for me because it had been my experience up until that time uh, that I hadn't been heard, and it seemed that uh, no one understood my quote unquote plight or what it felt like to be a young father. Um, every program that I had been involved with appeared to be primarily focused on mothers and moms and the children, but not necessarily the dad. And, in terms of emotions and uh, being heard and actually practical advice on what to do and how to do this fatherhood thing, uh, uh, getting that information changed my life. And after that, I became involved increasingly more with the parents I would come in contact. So moving forward a little bit, I was working in one setting, and it was primarily women. It was a early child care center, and kind of like poppy room talk or around the water cooler as they call it. And I would hear comments about, where are all the good men, where are the men, et cetera, et cetera. And something just struck me to say that, well, uh, they're here. They're in front of us. They come every day. They're picking up their children. They're going on field trips. They're speaking with teachers, And that just got me to thinking, it's almost as though some fathers were invisible if they weren't presented in a certain way. So they may appear in overalls and coming from the garage or coming from their jobs, and tired, but they were there. And so that spurred an interest in creating something that in which fathers could be heard and supported during early childhood. And that was very important to me. And that kind of launched where uh, I took hold of my career and working with fathers. Here at Bright Beginnings, as I mentioned,
We
making
lost
sure
the we lost the PowerPoint, just so you know.
okay, here at Bright Beginnings, one of the things that, again, as I mentioned, was to make certain that we are including fathers in all of our programs, and the feeling of welcomeness and the feeling of being heard, and also the programming, making sure that is um, understandable, that it takes into account what dad brings to the table in terms of fatherhood engagement. So as I reshare, uh, okay. One of the things that we talk about with fatherhood and our topic tonight is the engagement of fathers in the development, particularly around literacy. And this can be done prenatally. And as we define prenatal um, engagement, this is the time during when the baby is still in mom's tummy. It's during pregnancy. And there are several advantages to engagement of fathers during this stage. And during this stage, when fathers are engaged, uh, moms are more likely to attend prenatal visits. And this could be something as simple as encouragement, travel, keeping up with appointments and such. As we know, a lot of information exists around babies being more likely to be healthier and have fewer complications when fathers are involved, and to have better pregnancy outcomes and improve postpartum health. Um, Excuse me one second. Oh boy, okay. During pregnancy, fathers can engage in several activities to promote development. Um, Babies begin to hear sounds from outside of the womb. I think it's about 12 weeks. But one of the things that fathers can do is create a playlist for the baby. Um, Reading to the baby can also start there. The bonding can begin in terms of understanding, listening, and recognizing dad's voice. Um, the parents can learn when the baby is most active, uh, feeling the baby's kicks, experiencing the first ultrasound in 12 weeks. That's when the father can actually see or be introduced to the baby for the first time visually. So, also during this stage, dads can give babies their first nickname, another source of uh, bonding that can occur with the father bonding with this child. After the baby is born, as we continue on the literacy uh, tract here, there are several uh, methods of engagement that dads can involve themselves in. Um, and that includes, as you see listed here, feeding, bathing, playing together. And as they grow older, these babies will enjoy stronger social connections with peers. And again, this bonding is actually very crucial during this stage. And not only do the babies develop and grow, it makes the dads better fathers and better men, that they see the results of this birthing process. They see this new life that they helped create and impact. Um, and when these children are securely attached, ultimately, studies have shown that they do better academically and socially compared to children that do not have these attachments. And the care, the nurture, and playing with babies are associated with higher IQs. And as we continue down the path of literacy, better language and cognitive skills when engaged with fathers. And when we say fathers in programs such as these, and I know that I'm not alone out there, we are referring to all male caregivers. And these are fathers, granddads, stepfathers, cousins, uncles, any male caregiver that offers such care to children. Some of the other engagements that dads can impact and perform with the new babies are the baby massage. I also, for the first time, I witnessed some like baby yoga that was pretty awesome. The strengthening the muscles and getting the agility going. Reading to the child is always encouraged. The tummy time, where babies are on their tummies or stomachs, and this helps them build their strength to begin to crawl or walk in due time, raising their head, beginning to sit up. The skin to skin time. Often there's a lot of images of dads with babies sleeping or laying on their chests. Those are aesthetically pleasing, but it also helps with growth and development. And of course, talking, speaking, understanding that your voice or singing. Let me add, I met a father last week who he just talks about the importance of singing to his babies. As long as your voice is involved, a lot of times dads' voices can be soothing. Again, having the baby recognize dad's voice is very encouraging and assists with the bonding process as the babies move forward. As the baby grows and we move to toddler engagement, uh, male involvement or father engagement with toddlers um, assist in showing the baby showing higher levels of self-regulation and lower levels of aggression than children with unstable connections. And a lot of times, these higher levels of self-regulation occur with the physical play that dads offer during this stage. Well, it's not regulated to just the toddler stage, but dads seem to many times engage in more physical play when playing with their children or engaging with their children. But that helps the emotional regulation and lowers the aggression levels. These children that have father engagement at this stage are also more secure and likely to explore the world with enthusiasm. I read recently about how dads carry babies from time to time with the baby facing outward, exploring the world and checking out their surroundings. Sometimes dads hold babies in the football hold, so to speak, and they're facing the world so that they are able to see and explore as they grow and develop. The father's presence also increases the mother's cognitive stimulation of toddlers. I would like to find out from our audience if they recognize something like that. But I think that engagement inspires all the caregivers around the baby to be more active and be more stimulating in terms of reading and the baby's brain development. The father's playfulness with toddlers predicted higher language development when the children were preschoolers. again, it goes back to the physical play, as we see in the picture there. The dad letting the toddler waddle through the mud, explore the environment. Again, a lot more physical play or physical engagement when dads are involved. And of course, fathers can engage in literacy development with toddlers by reading every day, reading words aloud to their children. And this positive involvement is good for both the kids and dads too. I remember uh, years ago, we actually had a sign in one of the child care centers I worked in, encouraging parents to hang up their phones or put their phones away when they come and pick up the children, just so they can engage directly with the children. Um, we can do these types of things when riding in cars, um, pointing out stop signs or street names or uh, counting items on trips. Any type of engagement helps the cognitive growth and development of children. Not there yet. I don't think. Oh, maybe we are. Okay, I think. So ultimately, what I wanted to do was engage in a conversation around this and take any questions. I know we kind of flew through the information here, but are there any questions or comments that we have from the group? Um, Ultimately, we talked about father's impact on child development beginning before the actual birth of the child, and engage fathers in enhance early child development positive outcomes, and several successful methods boost literacy and prepare fathers for engagement. Um, all things matter. I think sometimes with dads, um, I'll speak for myself in this time. If it doesn't look like what mom is accustomed to, there's a lot of restraint and there's a lot of second guessing there. But I think that we understand that men as caregivers and nurturers, their nurturing looks differently a lot of times. And there is sometimes roughhousing and there is a different influx in language. Uh, when dad talks many times, again, we're speaking in generalities here, but in many times, um, dad uses less of the quote unquote baby talk, the goo goo gaga, and will use more words. And that helps the children develop that sense of language.
We have a question. All right, and I can probably help with this, but I'm going to let you take it first. How soon should you introduce a second or third language to a baby?
Um, that's a good question. I'm not an expert there. However, it is my understanding that uh, children are sponges and they can pick up uh, things a lot faster and earlier than we think. So I would try it as soon as you're able to utilize those languages. Now, I would imagine that you would use age appropriate terms, one or two words, and then maybe some phrases as you move on. But I would think as soon as language is introduced, it could be introduced at that point.
Yeah, I can take that too. So absolutely, at as early as possible, even prenatally, you could be speaking in both languages. I know people who've done this, and I've heard researchers talk about it. So, the first 12 to 24 months are the critical window of opportunity for language development in the brain and for creating the wiring for language in the brain. It's the best time to do it. So, it's harder to learn a second language when you're older because we've already wired our brains. So you can create wiring for two languages at one time, essentially. So you would just choose, I think, sometimes when to use one or another, or actually you could be speaking in one language, saying it, I'm putting on your shoes now in English, and then saying it the same thing in the other language, as long as you're fluent in both. And um, experts emphasize using, if you're not fluent, for example, in English, if it's not your primary language and you're much more comfortable speaking a different language, you should use that primarily. The one where you're really comfortable. The native language, home language is really, it's really important. Hi, Chris. Um, um, so, and there are children who are trilingual. I'll just give you one caveat, or just one thing that's important to know. And that is that the research shows that children who are bilingual or even trilingual can seem to be delayed in the different languages, like maybe not as advanced as others, but they far surpass other children within a few years. The benefits of it really show up a little later. So it's really beneficial to do that. So hope that helps. The next question from my husband's colleague, our friend Chris. Do you think the amount of time is important versus the quality of time? So quantity versus quality of a time of a father with their child.
I can take that one. Absolutely quality. Quality is key. Of course, time would be great, but quality is very important. So folks have busy schedules these days. Oftentimes, jobs are not strictly 9 to 5 anymore, and they're up when they're up. So the quality of time and the activity and the engagement during that time is key. So if you can make again, when babies are small, you can make a quality 13-minute engagement by reading or engagement in simple activities with the child. I think that will do wonders. I think, of course, we'd all like to spend more time with the children, but in such cases where you don't, or there's a non-residential parent, you have to make the most of the time that you do have. And so during the waking hours, as long as the baby is engaged or the toddler is engaged, the, the what you do with that time will be just as important as the amount of time that you spend, not more.
Yeah, and I'd love to just reiterate something Jerrold said earlier about play and just even making the most of your everyday routine. So putting that phone away, focusing on the child, tuning in, taking turns talking more. We're always talking about the 3 turns so that you're having the serve and return exchanges with your child. And, even if you're in the grocery store, you could be, rather than being on screens or having the child on a screen, children develop best through real interactions with real objects and real people, and they crave your attention. Your attention is like the greatest gift you can give to your young child. And so even while you're doing mundane tasks or routine parts of your day, talking and narrating the day, narrating what you're doing. If you're walking down the grocery aisle, engaging with your child about what they're seeing, what you're doing, why you're there, what you're going to get. And even when they're babies, they have incredible receptive language. They may not be able to express words, but they're babbling back to you. There's stuff going on in their brains, and they need opportunities to practice responding. So that's why that's so important. And then again, Jerrold talked about the importance of play and the way fathers play with children. Really valuable. He talked about how it promotes self-regulation, right? Wasn't that one of the points you made?
Yes.
And I think around the research around play is that, well, we know play is incredibly important. Unstructured and free play is really important to children's development, but it does help with promoting self-control because they sort of learn what their limits are. And dads maybe push things a little more than some moms or some folks but they're being safe, but they're helping children learn maybe their limits or what their comfort levels are. And so I think that helps with the self-regulation.
I think, thanks, Don. Also, I think one of the keys too, and this is I'm not saying this because it's easy, when the child is ready for play is important. So sometimes we have in our mind, okay, so I'm going to get off work. I get off at 6. I'll get home. Dinner should be ready 7:30. So I'll play from 6:45 to 7:15. It may or may not work exactly like that. So we have to kind of be open to when they begin to ask questions, or they bring you a toy, or they are engaged in something already. Those are the golden opportunities because their engagement is heightened, and then that would make the limited time that you spend with the child more fruitful and positive when you catch them when they're actually ready and engaged for play, when possible. I know that's a challenge a lot of times, but yes.
Does anyone have any more questions? If anyone's having an issue with writing a question, you could let us know. We could potentially unmute people, I learned. So if you have a question that's hard to put in writing and you wanted to be able to verbalize it, you could probably, I'll ask my colleague, would people raise their hand? I think you'd raise your hand and we'd be able to find you and
Yep,
help
you
you
can
out.
raise your hand or add something in the Q&A, and then I can, of course, unmute you.
Right. And I was just thinking, yeah, and again, reading aloud. I mean, if I have a chance between questions to just keep promoting reading aloud, singing, making up rhymes with your child is gonna help with their language development and promoting children's curiosity, feeding their curiosity. So if you notice your child is interested in a particular topic, something gets them excited, whether it's machines or trains or plants or animals or flowers or whatever it is, you can go to the library and ask the librarian to help you find books about that topic in the children's nonfiction section. And really, you can start doing that when children are quite young, feeding that curiosity and those interests. This one way my husband and son really bonded was learning about different topics together, exploring those together, doing activities related to it together. Um, and yeah, sometimes you're going to play a different role, because parents are taking turns with different tasks that you're doing. So again, having a father involved and engaged is so meaningful. Okay, we got another question. I have a 3-year-old twin son who is very emotionally sensitive compared to his brother. Are there things I can do to help him build self-esteem and confidence?
I know that it's praise for all tasks completed, or even the effort to complete, is important. Assisting children with problem solving skills, um, by demonstrating how you solve problems, and then helping them develop a problem solving method that also uh, helps develop that self esteem to know that they can do it, by being presented with a task or a problem and them actually solving it. And I'll go back to the praise, but an acknowledgement of effort and acknowledgement of completion, um, letting them know that mistakes are okay. That's how we grow, how we learn, and what we do after we make mistakes is important, and they are part of life. So those three things I know can have an impact on self-esteem and confidence. I would also say not allowing, and depending on the age of the child here, but trying not to allow negative self-talk to creep in to children, and then in fact encouraging positive self-talk. The I can, I will, I'll try, that type of thing, I think will be beneficial to the development of confidence and self-esteem.
Yeah, and I'll just again, I always do this. I ended weighing in during these presentations when I think catching them being good. So again, he was talking about the praise and the effort, like, so you want to whenever something is going well or it's happening the way you want it, and they're managing, making the most of that, praising that, because that then reinforces their confidence, reinforces those behaviors. And I'll just make a little pitch for the fact that we record others of these programs, and we have one called Making Sense of Children's Emotions with Joan Morgenstern from Senders Pediatrics. She's a parent coach and a seasoned early childhood educator. Great program. We have one called Behavior Chat, and we had another one on positive discipline from Bright Beginnings from Jerrold's colleague. And those are available on our YouTube channel. My colleague might be able to put links to some of them, or at least to our resource page where you can find those. That might be helpful for you to look into. And then I think there was another question, so let me get to that one. This question I just gave you a good tip. How to handle your own emotions getting triggered with back-to-back toddler tantrums, for example, when you're tired. So again, I recommend watching some of the other programs that we provided, but Jerrold, whatever tips you have to share for that parent, please share.
Well, when we're talking about toddlers, a couple things. Understanding best we can what happens before the tantrum. Is it bedtime or nap time? Are they hungry? Are they sick? Is there an ear infection or something like that that's making them uncomfortable? Also, we have to have, as parents, somehow, some way, we have to develop some coping strategies when we are tired, because sometimes in our worst moments, we could really ask ourselves, is this kid doing this on purpose? They have to know I'm tired. And why are they having these tantrums when I'm tired? So we have to make sure that we have our own coping mechanisms for stress, and that we understand that sometimes tantrums are the way children communicate, unfortunately. I think we have to develop some consequences to actions as well, and stick to them so the consistency will be there. And so there are some other things that, some other dynamics that could be involved there. But I will say to the first part of that, making sure that you have some coping mechanisms for yourself when things get stressful like that, and not assuming that the child understands your stress level or you're being tired, because they probably don't. They can be very self-centered creatures, as we know. So their needs they usually want those answered first, and they're not in tune sometimes with how we feel there. But making sure that we have coping mechanisms, making sure that all else is okay in terms of health, hunger, sleep, those types of things, and then the consistency. We mentioned praise on task and effort early, but also effort and when mistakes are made. So we oftentimes as parents, we can develop certain things when we know our own children, but yeah, I think the individuals that have the answers to toddler tantrums, if they could bottle it and sell it, they would be extremely rich. But I would try those that were just named there, and I'm sure we'll hear some others.
Yeah, and I just put a little comment in the chat. We have a program with the pediatrician on the toddler years, like a pediatrician's guide to those years. And we had to do a part 1 and a part 2. There were so many questions, so you're not alone. There were so many questions in the Q&A about raising a toddler. We didn't have time to keep doing it, so she and I just got on separate and recorded a separate part 2 to answer all the questions that have been coming in through that session. But those are available for you to watch at your convenience. And one other, just a couple other little tips to keep in mind is to do active listening. So to try to reflect back when a child's upset. Sometimes you can't do it in the middle of a tantrum, but to say, wow, that was really hard. You're very upset right now. This, if you know what happened to trigger it, you could reflect it back, just so they know that they're being heard. I'm here for you when you calm down, but again, we have programs that talked more about this. And then telling children when you are providing guidance and discipline, trying to phrase things positively. So telling them what you want them to do instead of telling them what not to do. So for example, say they're pinching you or they're, being rough and you don't want them to be, you could say, be safe with my body, be gentle with my body, safe hands, have safe hands. Or if they're climbing on a piece of furniture, you can tell them, put your feet on the floor. Instead of saying no or don't, because they won't always know what you're talking about, give them the actual, tell them what you want them to do. That, because they can't read your mind necessarily, it just makes it clearer. And yeah, so let's just see if there's any more questions. And Jerrold, I saw in that last slide that you had, one more thing. When I was a kindergarten teacher, we did often, it helps to talk when you're not in the middle of a tantrum, like after a ways away from it, but to bring up what happened when everyone's calm and what can we do to help each other or to help ourselves when that happens so we don't get so upset next time. Let's think about how can we calm ourselves down, and you can practice it together, whether it's breathing, deep breaths, or counting slowly, different things like Jerrold was talking about, finding these your own de-stressing or your own calming techniques, coping mechanisms. You could do that together. So I would do that with my kindergarten class. And one day, one of the children noticed I was getting a little agitated. Things were a little rough with behavior. And one of the children said, Joan, I think you need to take a deep breath. So they were able to see and help me calm down sooner. So you might find your children can do that for you too. And just, if you are tired, you could say, I am so sorry. I'm really tired, but, can you give me a hug? Maybe you can help each other and maybe find some comfort there. I was just going to also say, Jerrold, in the slide that you were sharing, one of the last slides, it said something about a fatherhood. There was some sort of contest. And then I thought maybe you could talk a little about the Facebook group too, if we're not getting other questions coming in the Bright Beginnings group.
Okay. The Cuyahoga County Parents Connect is a Facebook group with parents from all over the county, which includes, oh my gosh, is chock full of information from local events to resources, children with autism or developmental delays, certain centers, daycares, babysitters, playgrounds all throughout the city. Um, uh, Events that are happening locally for children.
Like this one?
Like this one, their educational. I mean, it's just chock full of information for parents and caregivers. And you just have to be a resident of Cuyahoga County to engage. And so once you engage, and there's a short kind of I will follow the rules type of questionnaire, maybe 3 or 4 questions, and then you'll be approved, provided you have a have a child, live in Cuyahoga County, and agree to those rules. You'll be approved, and you'll have access to tons of information. Again, events such as this, they could be weekend events, ice cream socials. Go here to get support in childcare, certain issues around raising children, just probably anything you can think of. But it's a great place. We also have Fatherhood Fridays on there where we pose a question. Anybody can participate, but it's surrounded around the fatherhood engagement experience. So I invite you all to check it out when you can. It is a private room, so you need to follow the processes that I just laid out to be involved. But it is open to all residents of Cuyahoga County.
Great, thank you. And you also had something in there about something in June with fathers, a fatherhood contest, or
Um,
I saw it in on the email or on
there
the,
is a for Father's Day weekend on June 15th. That's the day before Father's Day. We have a play date scheduled at Kitty Jungle in Lyndhurst. Um, those spots are filling up fast. We have rented out the entire place, but they hold, I think it's 49 people. So children and parents alike. So spots are filling up fast. You can check out the Bright Beginnings webpage for more information about that and how to engage in that event, as well as fatherhood resources. My name, I can reshare that information. My name, let's see.
it was on one of the last slides, I think. Oh, I think we might have gotten another question that I hadn't noticed. Oh, please repeat the name of the Facebook page.
Cuyahoga County Parents Connect.
And Grace, maybe we can put that in a future email. I don't know if you're all Imagination Library families and getting our emails, but I know I've shared it in the past, but we can always worth sharing again. And yeah, and some other, I wonder if no one asked this question, but like some special places to take your child, to create those special memories. Maybe there's certain things that become a child and father outing, or like something special where a child's going to have a special memory, whether it's a playground or Family Connections is a family support organization that has some great programs. They and they have playrooms. They have a playroom at the Lee Road Cleveland Heights Library called, they have they have a family playroom there. They have another at the Shaker Heights Main Library, and then Cleveland Public Library and Cuyahoga County Public Library have collaborated with Invest in Children and United Way to create, there's a few what are called family spaces at a few library branches. So the Huff Library branch, I think it's Brooklyn or Carnegie. And then Cuyahoga County Public Library has one in South Euclid, I believe, and I can't remember where the other is, but they're called Family Space. So you could Google those. Those might be nice spaces to go with your child. And but I think that Facebook page will have, just a lot available, give you a lot of ideas. And I'm gonna just see if there's any more questions.
And also, I would say too, and those are also great. And the Cuyahoga County Parents Connect will add to that in terms of playgrounds or events, children's museums and zoos and aquariums and all of that. But also for dads to consider wherever you are, that's the party. And if we all think back to some of our greatest memories, they will include a field trip or a vacation of some sort. But think about the bonding time, and when you're with your father, and when the children are with dad. Dad can make fun out of a lot of things. I mean, they don't have to be a particular place. It could be quote unquote cookout picnic. It could be playing wiffle ball in the yard. It could be a conversation on a swing set. But these are where the memories are made. Of course, they're made on huge trips like Cedar Point and playgrounds and such. But that time and that engagement, that'll go a long way. And I think that a lot of us adults who've experienced that or wish we experienced that know the impact that could have, those capturing those moments, particularly nowadays, since a lot of things are very expensive. The creativity
That's
that
right.
parents have to sometimes find that creativity to figure out, okay, so what can we do to spend some time together and to have some fun?
Yeah,
And then
and like a cardboard box.
yeah, and I bring that up. We spend a lot of money on toys, and then the children open and they play with the box or they play with the paper. So
Cardboard, paper towel rolls, like you can get creative with a roll of tape and roll of masking tape and some cardboard. Or if there's things that you had that were special when you were a child that you could share with your child, or and even talking about your own day, like maybe engaging in conversation at meal times too, right, Jerrold? Like asking your child, what did you learn today? Did you learn anything new today? Here's what I did. Here's what I learned, and model that for them as well. But just to engage in conversations, or if there's things that really interest you that you want to share with your child.
And that's a great point, Joan. That engagement is key. And again, when we talk about literacy and children using their words and becoming conversationalists, this could stem from conversations around meal times and car rides and walks and things such as that. So those are all great points. And again, the engagement, I think, is the key. Quality over quantity. But quantity is good, of course, but keeping in mind that the quality is important.
Okay, we got another question. Actually, they're related. They're from the same person. So, and no apologies for questions allowed. We want questions. You're probably not alone in asking this, you know, in coping with this. So he said, my son is more clinging towards my wife, so I can't seem to connect with him if she's there too. Should I spend one-on-one time with him instead? It's just challenging since we both work and want to spend time with him.
Um, I would say yes. I would say one-on-one time is good. Um, and just finding out, I think getting insight onto what the child is interested in is key, because that could be a starting point to strengthen your bonding or engagement. Finding out if it's coloring, if it's whatever it is. I mean, you can name a ton of things that children are interested in, but the reading is also key. If you could have lap time or quiet time and read a book or a picture book, a magazine, a blog, anything that he's interested in, or and then that could begin to strengthen the bond that you have. It doesn't necessarily. I would say one-on-one time is good, but it doesn't. You can also do that with your wife and your son, and I think that would clear the way for some one-on-one time.
And maybe every once in a while, I mean, not that I want to suggest that you need objects or toys to attract them, but maybe sometime, say you did find out, you observed what he was interested in, you go to the library, or you take him to the library and you get those books out, or you go on your own, you know, you get it on your way home from work and you bring it and you say, hey, look what I brought home today, you know, for us to look at or play together with. And the libraries often have these bookable kits. There's also Cuyahoga County has a toy lending library. So if you want to try something new where you don't have to purchase it, but it might be something novel for a while to try out together. You know, you could introduce things maybe that way as a way to engage. Um, it's just a thought, but again, maybe going to the library together, just the two of you without your wife, and making that a special um, outing. And that's something, I mean, I guess I'm speaking from experience because my husband and son, they ended up doing that every Sunday. And I think there was a picture of them in the local paper that one of our city council people would see them every weekend walking to the library, and took photos and then asked if she could like share a photo in the newspaper of them walking together to the library. But they were known because it was a tradition, and definitely it served my son well, I can tell you that, and their relationship. So
I,
um,
I use a lot of cliches in life and in coaching. And one of the big ones when you're coaching is the best ability to have is availability. And as we spoke about earlier, particularly when he comes to you. So he's hung out with mom, or he wants to do something different, and he brings you this book or toy or thing or this conversation, trying to be available when he's ready and highly engaged. And that also can strengthen that bond and begin to find something that the two of you can relate to, that you would consider yours. And that idea about the library, I've used that a ton of times, because whatever interest the child has, you can find some material at the library to strengthen it, and you guys can bond over that. we do realize that, parenting in this day and age, or most day and age, the time is so crucial. It sometimes feels like there's not enough hours in the day. So again, that quality time, what you do in the small moments that you are able to capture with your children, matters a lot.
Yeah, and again, say he is clinging to your wife and not available, he's not interested at that in that moment. You could just you can greet him and say, I see you really want to be with mommy right now. Well, I'm here. Daddy loves you. I'm here when you're ready for me. You can let me know what you want to, when you want to do something with me. I'll be here. Just expressing that, so that to make him more comfortable knowing that it's okay to go from one to another, and to want to be with mom for a little while and then be ready for dad, for that time with dad. So I think we may have gone through all the questions, and it is coming on an hour. We try not to have these go beyond an hour. Any other questions? I'm hoping this was helpful to all of you. We are so glad that you joined us and engaged in this way. And we put a survey link in the chat. We would love it if you would fill it out, particularly since this was a program about fatherhood. If there are other more specific topics that all of you are interested in, every time our survey is asking about that, it gives you a chance to weigh in on what you'd like to see in the future. We would love to hear from you, because you may have some insights that haven't been shared previously of a program that might be helpful, beneficial, that we haven't thought of. So please fill out it's a very brief survey, but please fill it out, and do share your thoughts and let us know if this was helpful and what might be helpful in the future. Jerrold, did you have any closing thoughts?
I would like to thank you for the invite and the attention from the attendees, and that as we come up on Father's Day, I'd like to offer my congratulations and recognition to all the male caregivers out there, and you matter. We hear you, and continue to be a positive force in the lives of your children and families.
Yes, you're critical. Your role is critical, and pat yourself on the back for taking the time to being here with us and caring so much, and be patient with yourself, with your family life. There's going to be ups and downs, right, Jerrold? And
Right.
you're definitely going to go through phases as a parent, as a family. And when you're down, don't think you're going to stay down. There's rough spots in this journey, but there's joyful spots and gratifying spots. So just stick with it. Persistence pays off. Practice makes maybe not quite perfect, but you know what I mean? You get better at things the more you practice them. And there's information and help out there. I try to say this in almost every one of these. If you have questions, if you feel like you need help, there is help to be had through Bright Beginnings, through other programs, through your pediatrician. There are resources out there. Again, I'm so glad we got to share about that Facebook page. So I just always suggest, if you have questions, if you need a little support or help, you should seek it out, because it's out there and you don't have to be alone on the journey. So I guess those are some of my closing remarks. And thanks again. Any one last thing, Jerrold?
No, but I'm available at Bright Beginnings if there's more support needed. And there's also a way more support out there for dads and families. And like John was saying, you're not alone. Keep at it. You're valued. The kids love you. And
They do.
stay positive. Stay positive. You're not
Yeah.
alone. You're not
Yeah.
alone.
So everyone, happy Father's Day coming up, and Thanks again for joining us. Fill out that survey and take good care. And thank you so much, Jerrold, for sharing your wisdom and your time and your expertise tonight.
Thank you for having me.